Does that work?
I think it might be recording to my cloud though, as opposed to your cloud. I'm going to pause it. Welcome to this week's episode of Mind Power Meets Mystic. You are here with me, Michelle Walters, and my podcasting co-host, Cinthia Varkevister. I am the Mind Power part of our podcast here. I am a clinical hypnotherapist and marketing strategist, and Cinthia is an intuitive healer and our show mystic. We are very excited to have our guest, Bobby Deetz, visiting today. Bobby Deetz, they, them, is a Portland-based technology coach and trainer and the founder of Digital Deetz. They help creatives, solopreneurs, nonprofits, and business teams get organized and confident with tools like Google Workspace, Apple devices, and everyday productivity apps. Known for their calm presence and sense of humor, Bobby makes untangling tech feel less overwhelming and a lot more human. Outside of work, they love taking photographs in nature, exploring creeks and rivers, and connecting with other vegans. Welcome, Bobby.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited about this episode.
We are too, especially since we're talking about the root chakra, which is all about security and safety and survival, right? And what you do in tech hits all three right in the gut. It really does. It couldn't be more targeted to the root chakra because there's nothing worse than feeling unsafe in your software. Um, and so I'm really curious, how in the heck did you get started with Digital Deeds?
Oh, thank you so much. Yes. So I have a long history as an instructional designer and a tech trainer, mostly in the higher ed industry. I started at the Berkeley Lab and went to UC Berkeley and California College of the Arts. And so the majority of my work was working with um, faculty, staff, students to use online technologies to enhance their teaching and learning in and out of the classroom. And so, in my background, even before that, both my parents were computer programmers. My dad built computers. There were computer parts all over the house. So I've kind of been exposed to techie stuff early on. And kind of any job I had that even wasn't around instructional design or tech support, I was always the one that was helping out with the tech or coming up with the training materials or helping to onboard people. I just kind of would do some of that, extra just automatically. And I've always been good with people and good with tech, like how to use tech. Not so much like the IT back end stuff. I'm really more like hands-on, strategy, things like that. And so what happened was during COVID, like a lot of people, I got inspired to just say, that's it. I want to work for myself. I've always wanted to work for myself. I've always enjoyed my day jobs, but it was time to, really launch my own thing. So I decided to take the parts of those jobs that I had enjoyed the most and felt were the most being of service to others to get more comfortable with their technology. And I basically pieced together Digital Deets.
So I'm familiar with some of Digital Deets. I took a great class that you and Julia Williamson
Yes, yes.
put on a year or so ago called Messy Mac Makeover. And I was so impressed. It kind of reminded me of how me and Cinthia work, like really good partnership, you and Julia. And it was so well presented and thorough and hands-on and like solved problems. And your explanations, your patience, I mean, I kind of know what I'm doing with a lot of things, but not everybody in the class did. And you were just awesome in terms of helping all of us really kind of sort out what do we have and get a much better handle on the Mac. And I don't know, mine probably needs another makeover now, but at least it was doing really well at the time I took Messy Mac Makeover. So thank you for that.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that's a really fun class for sure. And Julie and I have partnered on many workshops. We make a good match because, and maybe you and Cinthia have where you bring your differences together to make it more interesting and bring different perspectives. And Julia's a minimalist, and she's really good at deleting and getting rid of stuff. And I'm a little bit of a digital hoarder and collector. I like to save things, but I like to be super organized about it. So you bring those two superpowers together, and we have a lot of fun and help a lot of folks with their file structure and stuff, and getting things cleared out and getting things set up more securely and strategically. Yeah.
I love being partners with Michelle. When we do a Venn diagram, right, there's actually a huge overlap. So we can talk about so many things and understand each other's language. And because of that, there are certain people that I have a hard time communicating with because I'm just a little too woo. And then Michelle comes in with her loveliness, and I was like, oh, then the person calms down, and then I'm like, I had no idea, that I could have said it that way and it'd be so much nicer. So now,
I don't know that it's nicer. It's just a different point of view.
well, it's important. And so I've also had a little bit of work with you. I love how you make things incredibly practical, and uh, and messy is a great word for the work that you help clean up. Because when I think about my challenges with my Mac, it works, it's fine, and yet there are all these things that are just fucking annoying.
Yeah.
And I know that in the annoying pieces that apologies for that, but they are fucking annoying. And it wouldn't take much for you just to come in and not just help me clean it up, but really uh grok it, so embody it. So tell us a little bit about the people that you serve, and yeah, and how do they feel beforehand and then the transformation? Because it sounds really crazy and simple with the tech that you do, but it's not. And it's very, you're very thorough, and you do. I mean, I changed my thinking about tech. So yeah, and I'm a toughie.
You're talking. Yeah, no, thank you. I think that most of us, I mean, I'll include myself in this, obviously, we are so overwhelmed with information and tech and apps and platforms and software. And then we have our computer with all of our files on the hard drive. And if you're on a Mac, which is my area of expertise, you've got stuff in the iCloud, you've got stuff locally on your computer, and that it's unclear what's what, where are your backups happening, where's the sync happening. Then you have all your browsers and all your accounts and the tabs and the bookmarks and the passwords, and it just goes on and on. All of our photos, I mean, if you're like me, I'm a photographer and I have a hard time deleting photos. So we just end up with tens of thousands of files, and we get bogged down really quickly. If you don't empty out your downloads folder in a few days, you might end up with 50 or 60 things in your downloads folder. And if you don't clean it out in a month, now you've got hundreds, right? And so
Cleaned it out when I took Messy Mac Makeover.
Yes.
Like 2 years ago.
Oh dear. Oh dear. But what part of what it is the it's figuring out what your own daily habits need to be. And that's going to be slightly different for everyone because our brains work differently. We organize things differently. Some of us are neurodivergent, have different ways of thinking about things, different ways of organizing things. There's not going to be a cookie cutter way that works for everybody for, first of all, doing massive cleanup. And secondly, and really most importantly, coming up with what is your strategy. And that's a daily strategy, it's a weekly strategy, it's a monthly strategy, just like you would in any other area of your business, to make sure that things are running smoothly, things aren't bogged down, things aren't a hot mess, right? And that's your security included. It's just these two pieces. I mean, sometimes the laptop is the thing that you have invested the most financial resources into to support your business. So I tend to attract a lot of solopreneurs. I also love working with nonprofits and big teams. But I attract a lot of solopreneurs who might be new, or their business is growing. They're going to the next level. Maybe they're hiring assistants. Maybe they're getting their first employee, something like that. And they realize, like, if I don't have things organized, how am I going to bring somebody in? If you just bring somebody in to organize it for you, they're going to organize it in a way that works for their brain. And what I love to do is come in and sort of help with that. Like, let's set up standard operating procedures that work for you and your business. Then you invite other people in and you onboard them to the way that you work and what your strategy is going to be. And then they can help you with all the daily stuff that you don't want to take time to do because you're busy doing, this kind of work, right? But you do have to understand what those procedures are and be able to communicate them to your team.
I'm so down. I'm Michelle's going to laugh because she knows that I don't like clutter. So I am more of the minimalist, which I don't think I am, but in Michelle's eyes, I kind of am. But when it comes to my Mac, so this is the funny part, and I'm wondering how many people are like this that Bobby, is that on the outside, in the outer world, they got their shit together, everything is clean, and then you look at their Mac or you look at some part of their software piece, and it's just because they don't know that everything's like clogged and messy. So do you have a lot of solopreneurs where that's where they are, where they feel like they got their shit together, and then you take a look and you're like, oh baby, let me
I mean,
help you.
absolutely, because we do all struggle with this. I mean, email, I didn't even mention email, and that's probably the biggest one, right? How I often start working with someone who tells me, look, I only have, 400 or 500 emails in my inbox. And I'm like, that's 400 or 500 unread emails in your inbox. You actually have like 6,000, emails or whatever it is. So I think there's part of it is the awareness, like you said. Sometimes I can look at someone's desktop and kind of guess maybe how their physical desktop is, but not always, like you said. So the question I would ask you is, do you take like your documents and you're decluttering your desk and your office area and everything, and you either make piles or you put things, you file them or whatever somewhere, and maybe you have a to-do file. I'm just going to guess though that probably, like most people, we do have piles of stuff we have to deal with somewhere. We've just hidden them away maybe, and we do the similar with our laptop. Yeah, we just close the lid at the end of the day, and we can even dust it off and make it look all nice and tidy, but the truth is, like, everything's still maybe disorganized or not handy. We spend way too much time looking for files, and we waste a lot of time and efficiency actually looking for things, right, that we know we have somewhere. So that's what we like to help with in terms
Although
of
I
sending
love the
it.
magic of the search. I've got pretty good at knowing what I would have called something, and then I just searched for it, and it's like, oh, who knew it wound up over there? Okay, I found it. I'm going to use it now.
That's
So
great.
it's,
Yeah,
it's
no, that's great. I
it's the
think
lazy
people,
man's way of making it work. So
no, it's good. It's good. I
Hmm.
think people tend to be either really good at searching, which is totally legit, or they're not, because they're not going to remember what they named it, but they have a path, a folder
yeah,
path where they know to drill down.
yeah.
And I do think,
I've become
yeah,
just a search
search.
point, find it.
Great. That's
I'm a
good.
folder
So,
path.
so
Yeah.
we're
Oh,
talking chakra one, which
yes.
I have now learned so much more about, and understand that it is a lot about sort of safety and security and doing the things that make you feel sort of grounded and clear. And computer security, big BFD, as some would say. Um, Tell us a little bit about, and I remember you telling me a long time ago, Bobby, some story about how you got a big new assignment, but they required that you get cybersecurity insurance and that kind of a thing, without like terrifying our listeners, because we do not want to terrify
Okay.
anyone. Um, Tell us a little bit about sort of why computer security is so important, and what are some of the things that you think kind of the average person or our listeners might need to know about computer security.
Right. Okay. So, so you are not wanting the numbers, right? The
Well, I don't care
statistics.
about numbers are okay, but just like, don't make
Yeah.
us, oh my God, I have to
No, I
close
understand.
the computer now because
Yeah.
surely everyone knows what I'm talking about, or.
Right. I think I'll start with, cybersecurity has, I think, historically sounded like this really huge word that is relevant to big companies. And I think the most important thing to kind of get your attention is that actually it's the small businesses, it's us. And the percentage is almost all of us. Okay. Let's just say it's hovering around 94% of people last year were a target. So we want to do everything we can to protect what really matters to us. And I know, I was reading also a little bit about the root chakra being your foundation, right? And we want to protect that foundation and our energy and what matters to us. And we actually want to communicate to our business that our IP, that the digital assets that we create, that our clients and our clients' information are really important and sacred, and that we will take the time and energy and investment to protect it. And yeah, I was telling you how I have this big contract and it required that I get cyber security insurance. And for me as a solopreneur, struggling to get my new business going, I'm like, that's kind of expensive. I now will keep it forever to protect me and my business. I was thinking about it like the client was, but the thing is, if you have cybersecurity insurance, it can often help if something happens to you and your business, because your business can be taken down by a really bad breach. So let's talk about the fact, though, that there are so many things. I have a top 7 list of things that you can do, that all of us can do. We all are capable of doing all of these things that make a huge, gigantic difference. Okay. So you want me to kind of go through them a little bit?
Let's
please.
do it.
All
This
right.
is
Yeah,
awesome.
I'm down.
Excellent. So first and foremost, I'm going to say the most common issue we have here, that is people reusing passwords and reusing passwords that are not good passwords. Okay. The reason why is, you may have heard about this huge breach that just happened recently. Google, Apple, we're not quite sure. There was some database in the cloud somewhere and 180 million, I don't know what it was, but the numbers aren't as important as the fact that everyone's kind of freaking out about this, right? What happens when a breach like that occurs is if they get a password of yours and maybe enough information to sort of figure out who you are and this password, they will just start checking. And now they have the help of AI to do things so fast, like in a blink of an eye, be able to check all accounts and see, does this password work in this account, this account, this account, this account? So we want to really, truly take the time to have a different and unique and not reused password for each of our systems, which of course, and platforms, software accounts, all of that, which leads me to really encouraging folks to think about a third-party password manager. So not saving your passwords in the browser, ideally, okay, but really having that third-party password manager where you have so much more security, you have convenience, it works across your devices, you can share your login credentials with your assistants and your VA without actually even giving them the password. Okay, so really helpful things like that. A couple short things, we want to use a VPN, so virtual private network, right? It's just a little app you can install on your phone, your computer, so that when you're traveling, you're at the airport or you're at a cafe, you're in a place that's public. Hackers, if there's a hacker there and they want to get your information and look at your internet traffic, they can as fast as you can. I mean, it's fast, right? Somebody's there trying to do nefarious stuff, they can get you. If you have a VPN, it's like you're making this private tunnel. We could call that a route, right? Connected to the earth, right? You are got your own route there, just really protecting your information. So we want to be sure that you're traveling with a VPN. And then also, of course, backing up what matters to us. Really understanding the difference between if you're syncing something to the cloud versus backing something up, and making sure that you have a backup that isn't sitting right next to you only on the on your desk in case something were to happen to your computer in your desk. And I do like to think of this energetically. You are really expressing that the content you're creating to support your business is important enough to you to make sure you've got a backup of it, right? And that you're really taking care of it so you don't lose it if something were to happen. And then just updating your software, updating your software as needed. Right now, this morning, I'm seeing in my Chrome, it says new Chrome available in the upper right-hand corner on my browser. There's a good chance that is a security update. It often is. It'll say update or, error or new Chrome. We want to be doing those right away, because when these breaches happen, a lot of it is because they're getting stuff, out of our browsers and stuff, right? That's why I'm not a huge fan of putting our passwords and our credit card information in there. So we want to keep those updates happening, because there's going to be breaches in every platform, everywhere. You're always taking a risk online. So the best thing you can do is keep those security passwords, going, right? Security patches going, right? And then, of course, just having an antivirus software, even if you have a Mac, because old school days, we used to say, oh, that's just a PC problem. But we all need to be protecting our computers with antiviral software. So those are some of my big top tips.
Those are great tips. Those are great, great, great tips.
I'm a little freaked out as a Mac user. I want you to know that I was a, what is it called when you didn't want to be that person? So I didn't want to have anything to do with Apple. Nothing. I didn't want to have any of this closed loop crap.
How did you wind up on a Mac then, Cinthia?
Oh my God. You know what? Because I'm a cheap ass. And so what happened is I had my laptop went down, and then Dee gave me a hand-me-down, which was a Mac. And then for Christmas, I got a freaking Apple Watch. And then I learned the beauty of the syncing in. And then I'm not a huge fan of iPhone, but Verizon did this to me. They had the big, re-up, and then you can update your phone. And that was the deal. The deal was, BOGO, buy one, get one, right? And so here I am that person that I have loathed. And so I was sorry. So then what happens, at least I thought, well, at least we have the Apple security. I like the syncing and the Apple security. So Bobby, two things. One is um, for Mac users, do you have a recommendation of which security to use? And the other was, you freaked me out with LastPass, right?
Yeah.
LastPass.
Mm-hmm.
So if you could talk about those two recommendations.
Yeah, sure. So I would recommend, for solopreneurs like us, where we don't have a huge team and an IT, employee, right, helping us, I would get Malwarebytes. So Malwarebytes is very easy to use from the user standpoint to install, protect your Mac. It also has a VPN. You can pay just a little bit extra and get a super easy VPN to use both on your computer and also on your phone. So you're in the airport and you're like, oh, I need to check my bank account. I go to my privacy VPN. I literally touch the button. It slides on. Now I can check my bank. So I really like Malwarebytes for that. LastPass. So the thing is, all these password managers, they're competing all the time. Things happen, their reputation goes down. Most of the time, not all the time, but most of the time, if a breach happens with a company like this whose sole purpose is focused on encrypting and securing your passwords, if a breach happens, it's because what happens is they get your name and user info over here, and then they get these encrypted passwords, and they can't really match them up, right? So it's not as bad as like the breach that just happened, which was a wide open database with all our information, or 32andMe. That's a pretty huge breach, right, that happened, or the North Face or Victoria's Secret, like all these big breaches that have been happening where they get your actual info. LastPass, that was a real big downer because an employee had taken work home and it wasn't protected, and bad things happened. Their reputation went down. They're no longer in the top 10. So I used to recommend LastPass. I still think using a password manager like that is going to be better than saving your stuff in all the browsers or reusing passwords or whatever it is. But I like to recommend things that are staying in the top, 4 or 5 password managers. So my current favorite is 1Password, one with the number 1Password.
I've
And
been a 1Password user for like 5 years. Love
okay.
it.
Yeah, and I like Bitwarden also, Dashlane. Part of its user friendliness as well, and I think 1Password is really good for organizing vaults and sharing with your team and stuff. So
Well, I haven't gotten that advanced, but I do like having all my passwords like on my phone, on my like it just because I mean, all of us now we create so many. I mean, almost a day doesn't go by that I need to create an account here or update an account there or something,
yeah.
and I used to keep them on a notepad. I used to do various things, but just having them in the cloud is just so much easier.
Right. And the password manager will create a really horrible, very secure password for you that you don't have to remember. And it will be
And you
accessible to
don't
you.
have to
Yeah.
retype it constantly
Yes.
because
Right.
you just go there and you copy
Yes.
it, you paste it, and so
Exactly.
it's because I mean all the horrible or not horrible, but all of the gobbledygook ones
Yeah.
are more secure than a, I love peanut butter kind of
Exactly.
password, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And the sad part is, and this is just me being petty, the ones that I had to make passwords for the, programs that I didn't really like, I would curse them in my passwords, and it brought this evil glee every time I had to write it in. And so I guess I'm going to give that
See,
up.
I try and create passwords that are very uplifting, like make me money and this will work, but with numbers and weird spellings and this kind of a thing, because like why shouldn't your passwords be energetically positive?
I love that, and I'm down for it. I don't know why, but every once in a while I can think of three in particular where I'm like, I will, yeah, I can't say what it is, but
Right.
it makes me laugh, and then it makes me okay with using that piece. Yeah, and everything else is very popular or very uplifting.
You're telling the truth, Bobby, and the more I learn about AI and how fast things can be set up to happen now, it's it's urgent. I
Yeah.
mean, this is really quite urgent in
Yeah.
terms of dealing with things. I'm remembering many, many years ago. I mean, this was like, God, it was the time my son was born. So this was like 20 years ago. I had a boss who thought it was fun to run, he had some little program that he would run on people's passwords to figure out if like he could decode them,
Oh, yeah.
and then he would decode them and he would be like, "Hi, Charlie. What do you think about burgers 415 or whatever?" And just to freak people out. Um, but now, it's become even more important
Yeah.
to be secure. So, Bobby, I have to say you did an amazing job of talking about very important security things without scaring me to death. So, thank
Thank you. Good. Thank
No,
you.
that information was amazing. Thank you.
great information. So, we're about at time.
Mhm.
Bobby, what would you like to share with our listeners before we sign off?
Yeah, great. Thank you so much. I really appreciate this opportunity, and it was really fun to talk with both of you. I really enjoy your podcasts all the time. So it was fun to be a guest. I want to tell you about the fact that I have a membership now. It's called the Digital Deetz Success Club, and it's a monthly fee, and you get all kinds of things. You get to ask me little questions all month long. They're included. You get the recordings to all my free webinars. You get special event pricing, workshop pricing, and my consultation hour cost is much cheaper. So I'm really trying to get the word out for that. It's really fun. I love feeling like I'm part of the team and supporting a client on a regular basis with their business, and they can just kind of have me in their back pocket. And it doesn't have to be a big deal. Reschedule this big hour or several hours or whatever. They can just reach out and ask a question. So you can check that out on my website, which is, of course, digitaldeets.com. You can also see where my free webinars, what they're going to be. So they're every second Tuesday at 10 a.m. Got a really popular one coming up next week, which is getting great at Gmail. But we're going to be talking about other things, bookmarks and tabs, finder tips for being able to find things on your Mac, untangling your Google accounts, because I know A lot of us have a lot of Google accounts. And how to share your photos after the holidays. How do you share all those photos you took of all your cousins? So you can check all that out on my website, digitaldeets.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us today, Bobby. We really appreciate you.
Thank you.